Hello, baseball fans. Matt Nadel here, along with Dr. James Andrews, acclaimed sports surgeon. James, how are you doing today? Dr. Andrews? Dr. Andrews?
Doing great. How is everybody out there?
Well, family's doing well. I'm doing well. If you don't mind, let's get started with those questions, shall we?
I'm ready.
Okay. Did you grow up playing sports?
I sure did. I grew up in a little small southern town, Homer, Louisiana, up in North Louisiana, where sports was really our main social activity. And I played multiple sports all the way through high school.
Now, did you ever suffer a major injury during your sports days as a kid?
Not really. I had a fractured arm when I was playing football in junior high. I was a track athlete at LSU after high school, and I was a pole vaulter, and I had a compression fracture in my lower back that slowed me down to be able to participate. I think what was that, my sophomore year in college, but I got over that with just normal healing.
So what made you to decide to become a sports doctor?
Well, my love for sports was the main thing, and also I always wanted to be a doctor. I had during World War II, I was living on my mother and I and my sister were living with my grandfather and grandmother on a farm out in the countryside in North Louisiana because my daddy was overseas in World War II. And my grandfather was a country gentleman farmer, and he really always wanted to be a doctor because of just his interest. He was a very smart man, but as a young kid living in the country, he didn't really get to go to school and only had a part of a first-grade education. He prided himself in being a healer and country pseudo doctor, and developed a knack for different remedies and help take care of people that work for him. But he always wanted to be a doctor, and when I was a young kid, he did what I called he planted a seed and would rock me on the front porch and tell me that I was going to be his doctor when I grew up. So I was going to be a doctor from being a young kid out there with him. And so when I got into medical school, of course, I had been involved in athletics all those years. So it was natural for me to want to be a team physician. And eventually, of course, that became the subspecialty in orthopedic surgery called sports medicine. But it was wanting to be a team physician and continue to be involved in sports, which led me to where I am today.
So, since you became a doctor officially, how far has sports medicine advanced?
Well, the actual subspecialty of sports medicine really began as I finished my orthopedic residency. Back in those days, to be a team physician, you really had to be an orthopedic surgeon. And then I did what I call apprenticeships with various team physicians when I finished my residency. And that's really when the word sports medicine creeped into the nomenclature. And that was in the early 1970s. The American Orthopedic Society of Sports Medicine was developed in the early 70s, 1972 as a matter of fact, and that really began the development of the subspecialty of orthopedic surgery, which became known as sports medicine. So that's really when that formal training was developed, and it progressed, of course, through the years to where we are today.
So are there any new procedures you'd like to see that haven't really been developed or tested yet?
Well, there's always advancements in medicine and there have been many advancements in sports medicine. The real initial revelation that I was fortunate enough to come along with in sports medicine in orthopedic surgery was the arthroscope, which was developed at the same time that I was beginning my career. And, of course, the arthroscope allowed minimally invasive surgery. It really advanced our surgical techniques for knee ligament surgery and then into the smaller joints of the shoulder, the elbow, the ankle, the hip, and, of course, even the wrist. And the thing that's happening now in this new in the new decade of the new millennium in sports that's still being developed, which I think will be the next major revelation in sports medicine, is what we call the biologics. The biologics meaning stem cell therapy, growth factors that we're able to help manipulate the healing process and enhance the biological healing process with a lot of procedures that we do in sports medicine. And that's basically stem cell, the use of the body's own stem cells to enhance the biological healing process.
So you have written a book on preventing sports injuries for kids called Any Given Monday. So if you had one suggestion for kids playing baseball to prevent injury, what would that be?
Don't play year-round baseball. Don't play year-round sports in one sport period. We've had an escalation of injuries in youth sports in general since year 2000 of anywhere from 5 to 10-fold. So the reason for that is what we call specialization. That means specializing only in one sport 12 months out of the year. So our overuse injuries have gone sky high because of overtraining and over-specialization. The other problem along with specialization in these youth sports, particularly youth baseball, is what we call professionalism. That means training a young body that's not mature, that's more vulnerable, for example, training them heavily day after day after day, year round, as you would train a professional athlete that's already mature relative to his growth plates and to his body. And young bodies can't take that intense training in a professional manner. But that's happening around the country, and of course the two things then lead to overuse injuries and an escalation to epidemic proportions with injuries in youth sports. And youth baseball is just a prime example of that.
So obviously each major sport has its own respective injuries. For example, you wouldn't necessarily see a hockey player get Tommy John surgery performed on him, but what do you think is the most dangerous sport to play and why?
Well, the sport with the highest risk factor for injury, period, is not the most significant type injuries, and that's cross country. That's overuse injuries. Now, the sport that has the highest, more serious type injuries still is American football. And that's related to the contact injuries you see to the knee, concussions, which can lead to a very serious situation from a neurological standpoint. And if you take the sports that have the highest catastrophic injury rate, that means spinal cord injuries, spine, quadriplegia, paraplegia, and deaths. You would have to gymnastics and cheerleading. So those are the sports that you worry about.
So my favorite player of all time, personally, is Mike Schmidt. Do you have a favorite baseball player of all time?
Oh, there are many of them, obviously, but the one that I always go back to that was probably my signature baseball player that I operated on his shoulder early on, and I think has been the one that I have been most impressed by through the years was Roger Clemens when he was a young baseball pitcher for the Boston Celtics. The Boston Red Sox operated on his throwing shoulder, and he's had a significant, unbelievable career, as you well know.
Yes, I do know, but he has been affiliated with some bad things in the past, like performance-enhancing drugs. Do you believe that Clemens should be in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. I really, I'm biased, obviously, because I've gotten to know him. I've helped take care of his young baseball sons. And I just don't believe that Roger, he's such a purist in every sense of the word when it comes to the history of baseball, all of the what's the word, all of the things that have made baseball our American pastime. He's a historian of baseball. I just don't believe that if he took enhancing and performance enhancing drugs, that he knew that what he was getting, and I don't think he would have. I just don't think he was truly involved in that problem. And that's just me personally. I don't think it's been proven that he actually was involved in enhancement performing drugs, and I don't think knowingly that he would have been involved because he was a purist in baseball, but that's just me and my personal opinion.
So another pitcher who had to have a lot of arm surgery and actually had to end his career early was Sandy Koufax. He suffered from arthritis in his pitching arm. Do you think you could have extended Sandy Koufax's career?
Well, that's very difficult to look back in because I didn't know him personally. He wasn't a patient of mine. But I'm sure when he came along, there was very little being done to extend the life of a throwing elbow like it is today. So, there's some perception that maybe we could have improved his career and extended his life as a baseball pitcher, but that's all speculation.
Okay. So now what is the worst type of injury that you have ever seen an athlete suffer?
Well, not necessarily one that I treated, but I'm sure you've heard of Chucky Mullins, who was a defensive back for the Ole Miss Rebels when he crushed 3 vertebrae in his neck and was paralyzed, quadriplegic on the football field playing against Vanderbilt back in what year was that? Early 80s, I guess it was. I don't remember the exact year. I think maybe it was 1981. Maybe it was maybe somewhere along in there. But of course, that's a catastrophic injury on the football field that none of us ever want to see happen. For me, with me involved in the shoulder, the elbow, and the knee, the injuries that occur that are most significant to the knee is a dislocated knee. And of course, that's a significant injury that is career-altering. And of course, we see that happen periodically year to year with some of our high-level athletes.
Dr. Andrews, thank you so much for speaking with me today and answering my questions. I very much appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you, and good luck to you.
All right, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.